Hello, everyone. Welcome to DevPrime channel. And today we're going to talk about event-driven architecture, event-driven microservice, and how to create event-driven applications. By now and nowadays, to create async communication is not only important for our applications, but it's essential because you got many copies of your microservice running on the cloud and they are communicating in async mode. You don't need to wait until the other microservices to respond in order to keep processing your requests or web events. So speaking this way may sound a little bit abstract. Some people say that it's not something trivial, but in DevPrime, I can show you how to make this process a lot more easy. Today we are all gonna learn how to do that easier. Here's the big picture of your digital strategy ecosystem. Most of our investments goes here in this purple highlighted zone, which represents your business backend applications. These back-end applications, DevPrime is right inside of this digital core, boosting your software development and empowering your team. Deploy microservices in any cloud with like Microsoft Azure, Amazon, AWS, Google Cloud, Oracle Cloud, and so on. Exposes your API in any API gateway, in any kind of front ends. So let's see now how to do that in practice. Come on, go with me. For the purpose of demo, I brought to you a very simple e-commerce scenario, which is made by two microservices. The first one, the order microservice, and the second one, the payment microservice. Our process starts on a web request, which reaches the order microservice on API. So the order microservice will react to it, will make some processing based on this web request, and after that, it will save its state on a state storage like MongoDB or any other. And as a result of this process, it's going to emit an event. So it emits an event. Hence, this event will reach another microservice that will react to it, do some processing, and save its state also. Come on, so this is our entire flow, and let's build these two applications today together. If you don't know what DevPrime yet, I recommend you to access devprime.io or devprime.tech and download it and try to do the same, just repeat the steps I'm doing here and do it by yourself, do it by your own. So just only go to docs and getting started, and it will be guided through an easy pathway to create event-driven architecture, event-driven microservices. So here we are now. The first step, we're going to create order microservice. In order to do that, allow me to introduce you the DevPrime CLI. DevPrime CLI is a command line interface which accelerates our development process in our diary routines and diary bases. For example, if I want to create a new application, I need to get worried about the project, the engineering project. How many layers I'm going to have, what is the responsibility of each one of these layers, how they relate to one each other, and how to keep these decoupled in order to different people work in the same project with no burden of the onboard effort, So let's, before we go any further, let's create a microservice and watch out what is an example of an engineering project. First thing I want to do is dp new order. I'm creating a new microservice. It's called order. And I want to define that it is going to be placing states on MongoDB, and it's going to emit events on RabbitMQ. So here DevPrime is creating to us a production-ready microservice. What is a production-ready microservice? Let's watch out it now. It's placed on demo order, and it's based on MongoDB and RabbitMQ. See that? Open up. And also let's run this microservice. Watch out inside. Take a look at these architectural standards, okay? We got all technologies here in this component called adapters. Each one of these layers is related to technology, but our domain logic remains here, totally decoupled, separated from the rest. So our domain logic is decoupled from technological aspects. And our technological aspects, each one got a component that has one unique responsibility, one unique and exclusive responsibility. Our web request comes here in our web adapter. Communication, async communication like RabbitMQ and Kafka comes to a stream adapter. Save states or retrieve states from the database. SQL or NoSQL database comes to the state adapter. Call to APIs. If I need to make a web request to another API, gRPC, GraphQL, so I got as my service adapter. Integration with security process, identity providers for authentication or authorization comes here in security, observability, and so on. And so any one of these technologies got one single component in order to handle, and it got a unique and exclusive responsibility. So our domain is totally decoupled from this. And if someone has worked on DevPrime in one squad, so this developer can just change the squads and go to another project using DevPrime with no loss of time, because every DevPrime got the same standardized architectural project. It's an architectural project, you know. Your team, you have to spend a lot of time in order to define that. Every decision got a consequence, and these consequences have a cost. So before you start a new project, you need to have engineering structured project, and DevPrime do that not in weeks but in some seconds. Okay, we create a new microservice called order here, and it is we run it. Just click on /run.ps. If you're running on Linux, you should use /run.sh, and of course you need to do CHA mode first. There's a lot of instructions in order to reproduce that on DevPrime docs. So I really recommend you to download it and do it by yourself and try it by yourself. So here is our microservice. It's up and running. And the first thing we are about to notice that is a log, a smart behavior. Okay, well, when we created this microservice, DevPrime told us that it's a production-ready microservice. So it got some smart behaviors like this one here. I got a log which shows me any detail of the process that run inside my application. And I don't need to do no extra effort in order to have it, because all DevPrime microservices got it by default. Here, I can, for example, we can notice that the state is on MongoDB, string is on RabbitMQ, and our web adapter is pointing at this ending point. So let's navigate to this ending point and check it out. Check this out. Okay. Just take a minute. Okay. Okay, here we are. 5001. We got a welcome to DevPrime. You got a new microservice. Go to Open API. Okay, it's a production-ready microservice, so you can just place it under the API gateway of your choice because it's a production-ready application. All you need to do now is to place some business logic here in our domain layer. So now I'm gonna write some code here. For the purpose of this demo, I'm not gonna write it by hand, but it's very important to remember that it's up to you or your team to write these code, to write these classes here with your hands. I'm gonna play some classes here based on domain-driven design. In order to accelerate this step, I'm gonna use a marketplace of business rules. Marketplace order. I'm bringing here some domain logic from my marketplace for just a sample code of my business rules in order to show how to do that. Okay, we got it. Two classes here, order and item. Order and item. They are placed in this folder called aggregate. And aggregate it's a domain-driven design concept. Okay, I'm not going deep into details, but there's a class in our foundation which represents each one of these roles inside the domain-driven design standards. But basically, it's a standard to represent business logic inside your objective-oriented classes. So every class is based on class of our foundation. So it enables the DevPrime, these classes to DevPrime stack. It enables DevPrime stack to interact with these classes. So we got an aggregate root here, some business logics on the bottom side. We got the item here, and it's based on classes from our foundation. Okay, we got business logics now, and it's time to do some implementations. It's time to write some more code here in state, for example, in order to save its states on our database, retrieve states from previous recorded data from the database. It's time also to expose some ending points, create some tests, create some dependency injections, and so on. There's a lot of common steps that we do in databases. In our databases, we follow some patterns that we need to do that in every new application. So, but we got a domain model on our domain. We got a domain model here, an aggregates, okay? And we got a utility on DevPrime that will help us to accelerate this step. So let's show you how to do that. Open here. Now I'm going to call a DevPrime accelerator. It's called DP init, okay? Oops, DP init. DP init. It's going to accelerate some steps that we used to do in databases, like create states and state classes and ending points, tests, and so on. At this point, it's analyzing our domain model. Okay, so it's analyzing our domain model and making some implementations for us. So what kind of implementations? Very useful implementations like mocks, states, repositories, internal service, dependency sections, and so on. Now I'm gonna run it again. Let's navigate inside DevPrime and watch out what we got. Okay. Inside our states adapter, we got 3 new folders: connections, repositories, and states. And we got some code here, which represents access to our database. So we can just it's up to us to customize this code. So we got it accelerated by default because there are some patterns in industry. Patterns like repositories and ending points that we need to do in every application. Here we got ending point exposures. So it's exposure API. And now we got some tests. We got dependency injection also. And let's make a web request and navigate to check it out. How is the DevPrime process diagram? Okay, we're running. I need to, let's just remember that we are talking about the order microservice that's gonna receive web requests on web adapter, do some processing, save its state, and emit an event. So this microservice needs to have a queue. In this example, we are using RabbitMQ. We're using RabbitMQ, so we need to create a queue on RabbitMQ. Let's guide you to do that. Just go in here. I'm running on a local container, RabbitMQ. If you don't know how to do that, I hardly recommend you to go to devprime.io and check it out our docs, because there's a step-by-step in how to reproduce that. Okay, so we got a queue here. This queue is gonna be called order events. Order events. Okay, add a new queue, order events. Now we got an order events queue created on RabbitMQ, so we are able to emit events and to receive events. Also, okay, now it's time to create the payment microservice. I'm gonna make a web request on our order microservice, first, and check it out the behavior inside the DevPrime itself. So let's make a web request. As you saw, we did DP init, which creates lots of implementations to us for repositories, ending points, and so on. So if I do an F5 here, I just click on F5 on my web browser, and I got exposure of ending points. So I can now interact with my API. So I'm making a post on this API. I did it, and we got a success. Okay, successful web request result. Perfectly, perfect. If we analyze logs inside order microservice, we can check it out. We can notice that we got a web request. Oops, yes, too much zoom. A little bit less. This way is better. Okay, so it starts on a web request, which comes to our web adapter. It go across application layer, go to domain. There's some business logic here, and there's a process event inside domain layer. We're going to talk about that. We're going to speak about that in a while. And then it goes to the state of MongoDB, so it saves its states on repository at MongoDB. And after that, it emits the event on its stream adapter out event order created. Okay, this is it completely flow. It's has been delivered, and we can follow all these steps same way we got in this chart: receive on web adapter, process, save its states, and meet event. Let's watch out inside the code of DevPrime or microservice or the microservice and see step by step how does this work. First of all, our journey starts on web adapter. So we got an ending point here, a post ending point, and this post ending point on line 10 calls application service called add. It's an application service, I order service. Everything inside the DevPrime architecture begins with application service method call. So your entry point is always an application service method. In this case, I order service, I'm calling the entry point add. So I'm going to execute this process, this add process. I'm adding an order. It's a new order. We're talking about this action of the new order now microservice. So let's navigate to our application service, go to the application service, order service, add. Here we are on add, it's our application service, application layer. It's our application service. It's order, so we got some parameters from the web request, and it's being converted to a domain object. This domain object is attached to the execution context. And here we call a domain business method. Inside this domain business method, so just navigate to domain aggregates. So our friend here, domain aggregates order. We got the domain method called add. Here we are in domain, so it's an aggregate business layer, and it has important things like attach items, validate fields, creation of a new git because it's a new order. So we got a new number, a new git for this order. It's unique, it's exclusive for this order. It's a new order, so we got a flag to do that. And most important of all, the most important of them all is the process event. Process event rises an internal event called order created. It's an order created. Okay, got one more reference to that on our process event. Okay, this event order created can be found in event handlers. Here's our order created, and there is a handler for that. Okay, just let's backstep just a little while. Let's backstep here. Pay attention on that. We got a process event. We're talking about internal events. What does it mean, Alvaro? What does it mean? I'm going to explain you now. The internal events are things that happen inside our microservice. They happen inside of here. So domain are totally decoupled from technological aspects. So it needs to trigger some domain events that will interact with handlers. So we got some internal domain events and we got some event handlers inside our applications. These event handlers will react to these domain events and do the communication to the adapters. So we're talking about internal events. It's important to notice that these internal events are different from these external events. These internal events exist only inside our application. And these external events are spread to outside applications. Very important to notice. At this moment, we're talking about only these internal events. So we made a process events in our domain. So our domain doesn't know any technological detail. It just writes a domain event. And now there's an event handler called order created event handler. It's our event handler hub, which help us to register the relation between events and handlers. Now we are here. We got our event handler. So we are in the application layer, and our application reacted to our domain event. And what's going on here? Every time we got an order created domain event inside our application, it's internal event. We're gonna run this code, this piece of code. I'm not gonna read it line by line, okay? But the most important part for us is these two lines. This one, when DevPrime stack save it, this state on a database, okay? And our special guest for this live today, which is the stream send. Stream send, it's a way DevPrime emit events. So here we got the destination from where we are sending. In this case, we got order events queue configured to us. Event name, it's called order event, and event data payload that we, this information, it is the information we want to emit. So this is the important part for us right now. Here is only one single line in order to emit an event inside the DevPrime. And it is responsible for this line out stream out event. Okay, here is our event handler, and the state line we are placing our states on the MongoDB. In the second line string, we are emitting events on RabbitMQ. So we got an event on our RabbitMQ. Okay, let's create another microservice in order to react to these events. So now let's create this microservice that's gonna receive this event, react to it, do some process, and save its state. Let's write it together. Come join us. First of all, let's call DevPrime CLI once again. No more extra details. The GP new payment state MongoDB. It's important to notice that every new microservice got its own database. So they're not using the same database one on each other. So it states MongoDB, and it also wants to use RabbitMQ. Okay, let's create our microservice. Now we're creating the second one microservice. It's the payment microservice. We're creating the payment microservice. We got a brand new production-ready microservice called payment microservice. Let's get into the directory, okay, the folder. Let's write some code. Now let's accelerate the steps because it's the same. The last one, just let's get some marketplace. samples for us. So we add some payments. Okay. And we're gonna do a DP init. In this situation, I'm calling no string because I don't need to have these streamlines here. I don't need to have this streamline. I don't want my payment microservice to emit an event after process a domain events. Okay, I don't want to have it in my payment microservice. So my payment microservice only will receive an event and not emit. It only will receive an event. So I just tell the microservice that it's a no string, so it's not gonna, at least at this moment, not gonna send events. So it's just a step to accelerate that. I don't need to accelerate this step for this microservice. Something specifically for this microservice. So I'm making a DP init. It's analyzing our domain inside payment. If you haven't already, like this video and you haven't already share with everybody you know, please, this is the time to give a like and support us, and also share this video for many people you can, and also, and most important, to download DevPrime at home or at your office or anywhere, in a coffee shop, anywhere. Just download it and try it by yourself. Give us some feedbacks. Your feedbacks would be very appreciated for us. Okay, I just did the first start method here, and we got a payment microservice. Our payment microservice is here, and I need to change its ports because it's supposed an API, and I want to run in a different port in order to have, I don't want to have a clash, of the ports, because order microservice is running on 5001 and 5000, so I need to change it. This is 5003. This is 5000. Okay. Another very important step for us is to subscribe to a queue. We got a queue in our RepTime queue, okay, and I want to subscribe to it. I want to receive events on payment microservice. Everybody aboard, I really want to highlight that we're talking about payment microservice. This is the second one microservice we're building now. Okay, created it. Just open queue order events. This is the same queue we are publishing on our order microservice. So I'm going to change the order microservice code in order to show you that we got a DP string send. Okay, DP string send, and there is a destination. Destination is a variable which reads from our configs string order events. Let's allow me to show you where is it inside order microservice. Here we are analyzing order microservice. Okay, beside the one who sent the event, the one who emits the event. So it's app settings. And there's a custom variable section in configuration, and there's a key called string order events that points to order events queue. So every time I want to refer to this queue name, I have to use this key. So this key in our order event handler, this key related to order events. So our destination is order events. This is the place where our order microservice is emitting events. So it's an order created, but it's on order events. As we can see here, order events. So it's an out event and our order created. Perfect. Now let's get back to the payment microservice. Now we got all configuration done. It's time to create an entry point for us in our string adapter. So I'm going to string adapters and string adapters. I am at this moment on payment microservice. I am at payment microservice, and we are together preparing it to receive events. In order to prepare our microservice to receive events, we need to go to adapters, string, event string, we need to place some code inside of here. There's an accelerator to do that by using the DevPrime CLI. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Just dp add subscribe, and I want to subscribe to order created. I need to know what I need to do when I react to order created event. And I need to tell also what is an application service, what is the application service that's gonna react to when I receive an order created event. So we're gonna add a subscribe to this event, and we are telling to call payment service application service. Doing that, let's get back to our stream here. Let's let it work. Okay, that's some code pasted here. And let's check it out together, okay? There's a brand new piece of code, okay, placed for us by the this one here, placed to us by DevPrime CLI. DevPrime CLI did it for us. So every time we receive order created, we call payment service. It's important to notice, it's very important to notice that no matter which queue we're subscribing, so if you are subscribing many different queues here, you can just come here and say, for example, billing, events, or promotion, events, and so on. You can have many different queues here, no matter from where the events come. The important part is that when some one of these events is an order created, so this is the entry point for this event at this microservice. Okay, so every time we receive events on DevPrime, the first place they come to is on our event stream.cs. Okay, so we got an order created, no matter from what queue it came from, and we're about to deserialize it. Okay, we're about to deserialize it. So people, it's very, very important for you, mainly if you have never worked with async communication and events before, is the fact that we need a contract. We need a contract. The same way when we place on our API, we have a contract here. We have a shape of our JSON. Same way we got here. We need that in our events. So our events got a special contract, a shape, some fields that we need to parse as soon as we receive it. And I'm going to place this contract here. Now we are able to deserialize this on a DTO. And as I said before, same way you do on web requests, we need the application service method in order to do some processing, because everything inside DevPrime architecture begins in application service method. So our method will be the method add, and we got a parameter to method add, okay? And let's place some of the properties we receive on our event into this parameter. Let's fill in the blanks. So customer name is useful for me. Our order ID is the ID of the event, because it's another event created. So ID of order is our order ID. And we got a value, which the same of total. Okay, should be enough for me at this time. Okay, so we got a event order created. When it comes to our microservice, our subscribe entry point will deserialize it, make some mapping of, because not all properties of the event will be useful for me, because one event can touch many different applications, and each one of them can react to this same event in a different way. In this case, I only need these 3 fields of the event. So I'm going to process them, and I'm going to call our payment service application method. Okay, so our payment application service method adds. Let's go there. Let's check it out. It's important to notice that inside payment microservice, core application, event handlers, payment created, we only gonna save state on our state storage. Okay, nothing else but nothing else, only this. Only this is the only thing we're gonna do when we receive these events. I'm gonna place that on the database. Okay, let's run them together. Order is already, it's important to notice that we got already an event here on RabbitMQ. Check it out. It's our event. So we got an event on a queue. What does it mean, Alvaro? Well, it means that even though I got no application running yet, I'm just typing running on my payment application. We just made it. We just created the payment application right now. And for the very first time it runs, it starts to receive events that were already on the queue. You know that? Even though you got no application coded yet, but you already have events on the queue. So as soon as okay, it's very faster. As soon as the application runs, check it out. Let's watch out together what happened here. Okay, my microservice, my payments microservice up and running, and our stream adapter just receive an event in event. So our stream adapter receive an event called order created, and it goes to the application layer, domain layer, and so it goes to the state MongoDB, and here finish the processing. Our processing finishes here. The payment microservice just received an event. You see that? It received this event. So we're talking about that. Just receive, do some processing, and save it safe. So our journey is complete. Okay, we just made async communication between order microservice and payment microservice, but I think we can go a little bit higher. We can go a little bit high. We can go higher. We can go higher. So go here, payment. What I'm doing here is simply just placing microservice, the order microservice on the top and payment microservice on the bottom. And it's important to notice that we got one of them emitting events and another one receiving events. If you haven't downloaded yet DevPrime, I hardly recommend you to go to devprime.io, download it, do your tests, try to reproduce the same scenario here, and give us some feedback. Your feedbacks are really important to us. Okay, in the top side, we're running order microservice. In the bottom side, we are running the payment microservice. So the top side will receive a web request, do some process, save database, and emit an event. So this event gonna cross the border and go to the payment microservice where it's gonna be processed and its state gonna be saved. Let's make a web request together. Okay, I think so. It's really cool. It's this is the real async experience. You know, you got things happening on the top side and the impact on the bottom side. And the most interesting part is this web line here. Let me place the side by side. Okay, in the bottom side, in the top side, we got the order microservice. Okay, it's a string. It's running on RabbitMQ, and it's out event. So order microservice emits an event, and the payment microservice in the bottom side, string, RabbitMQ, and it's an in event. So here the event comes out, and here the event comes in. Okay, I'm gonna save this. I'm going to print this screen. Okay. Save it in MS Paint. Wait a minute. I really want to save that. I swear. Okay. Just let it here. Okay, we're communicating with each other, and the most important part here is that we are using RabbitMQ. Okay, we are using RabbitMQ. We are using RabbitMQ. But let's suppose that I want to change this application. I want to change my entire environment. I want to change all my applications to Kafka. How to do that? Okay, let me show you how to do that in DevPrime. I just stop the first application, stop the second application. It's important to get the same queue we got in RabbitMQ. It's called order events. So we got this queue here. Let's create it on Kafka. Kafka is up and running. Okay, I'm gonna add the topic. Order events. Now we got order events topic on Kafka. Okay, Kafka got we got a queue in order to publish. And let's change the configs in order first and after in payments. And all you need to do in DevPrime is only to change some configs like this. You can go here. First step, let's prepare order microservice. Just check it out, just and sharing. Okay. Okay, let's prepare our order microservice. Just okay, order microservice. Let's prepare it. App settings. Go to DevPrime string. Let's replace it. And now we are going to run on Kafka. Okay, nothing else changed. We don't need to change any code, any single line of code. You don't need to recompile your application. You just change configs. So I'm running order microservice. And now we are going to change the configs on payment microservice. Configs, app settings. I don't need to change my subscribe, only the technology. Now it's Kafka. Before it was a RabbitMQ microservice. Now it's a Kafka-based microservice. And that's it. The only thing. This is the only thing. It's important to notice that our order microservice is already running on Kafka. No extra effort. You don't need to do no extra effort. This is the keyword you need to keep in mind when using DevPrime. There's a lot of very common steps that you need to use diary in our diary routines on diary basis. So we don't need to do no extra effort because DevPrime accelerates and saves your time and gives you a better time to marketing. Keep it in mind. This is the most important part. So now we got the two microservices running on Kafka, and the only thing we did is to change a config. It means that you can just change the config on your cluster, just type something like kubectl and apply some deployments and change the configuration. And then you're going to change your microservice to run from RabbitMQ and Kafka. And you can also, take a look at this. But in the top side, we got running Kafka, order microservice. In the bottom side, we are running Kafka, payment microservice. So, and the only thing I need to do is to change the config. I don't need to recompile. I don't need to change any line of code of my programs. I don't need to change any line of code of my applications. And they are both running Kafka. So if I go here and do the same thing, you see? Events comes from the order microservice and goes to payment microservice, and very special moment here when it got out and in, got stream, Kafka, it's our order microservice, out event, order created, and we got stream, Kafka, in event, order created. Take a look at this, okay? Time, let's make a pause. Let's stop in silence for a while. Check it out. Let's compare with our last one. These were us, okay? This is where we are, where we were, okay? A couple minutes ago, we're running on RabbitMQ, okay? The two microservices, I took a picture of it, okay? And now we are running on Kafka. You see? No extra effort. I haven't to code anything new. I just change a config. This is a little bit of that what DevPrime can do for you, and what DevPrime can do for your team. So if you haven't downloaded it yet, it's time to do it now. Download it, reproduce, and give us a feedback, because your feedback is very important to us. Okay, see you people. To the next time.